Welcome to the Philadelphia Sports Table Podcast Show, the longest-running weekly Philly sports podcast show in the world. We are celebrating and commemorating 13 years this month here at the PST Podcast Show. Cannot believe we're still doing this. and thanks, longtime listeners, and if you're new to the show, welcome. I'm Jeff Warren, here at my good buddy Eric Leonard, better known for those of you watching on YouTube as Edgecombe Bum, because we know VJ had that hiney hurting a little while ago.
I changed it to Stan, back to Stan in the lobby, but I think I forgot to hit save.
Oh, okay.
That must be, yeah. Still learning this technology, Jeff.
I know the technology as we're getting older.
I know it's going to happen. If I try and change it, I'm going to knock the mic over into the soundboard. I already know. Yeah. Because
so you're all over the mixer.
Well, you've seen my setup. I have the mic stand on an old book.
Yes.
It's just kind of all my stuff's just on books.
I can't believe your laptop's still working after all this time.
Well, I had to switch to one of my work ones because that one.
Oh, that's right.
That one had cobwebs.
If
you recall.
We respect the show, folks.
I had spiders living in my laptop for the show. Yeah.
Yes. Well, we do have a great show. We really do, because there's a lot going on in the world of Philly sports. First and foremost, we are going to talk about the Vrabel and Russini story and how that relates to the Philadelphia Eagles. And, of course, the A.J. Brown trade rumors. That is the hot story, red hot story in the world of Philly sports. We're also going to be diving into some Philadelphia Flyers talk. I can't believe it. I mean, they have moved into a playoff position, and we're going to get into what that may look like and get into some stats as well. From there, we're going to get into some Sixers talk, and then we're going to finish things off with some Phillies talk, as they've only played 11 games thus far, but it's been up and down. Been a bit of a roller coaster for this team and us fans as we are watching them. I mean, they just got their butts kicked again by the Giants. And last night, when oh my gosh, it was just they're not doing well out in San Fran right now at all.
No, and take away that comeback in game one.
Oh,
it's an easy sweep for the Giants.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We'll get into the Phillies for sure. What we're throwing down on the table, we've got our good friend Ethan Witte from thegoodfight.com to talk more about the Philadelphia Phillies. So let's get into again, I will say red hot. It's red hot. It's a red hot story, buddy. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's a red hot story. Most of us in the sports world know the Mike Vrabel, Dianna Russini story. More light has been shed on this, and as it pertains to the Philadelphia Eagles and the A.J. Brown situation after Patriots head coach Mike Vrabel seemingly having some sort of relationship in some way, shape, or form with Dianna Russini. Safe to say that the, quote, NFL executives within this whole situation that are pushing for A.J. Brown to essentially be traded to the New England Patriots. A lot of this is just coming to light here. And quite frankly, I think my take on this, Eric, and I want to get your take on this as well. Russini has claimed that reporters interact with sources away from stadiums and other venues, which is absolutely true. But, you know, I've never seen photos of, like, I don't know, what can we say? Shams. I've never seen photos of him poolside with Jeannie Buss, you know, like, so it's hugging and interlocking, you know, their fingers together and stuff like that. But, like, regardless of what was truly going on with them, it's not a good look. It is not a good look, especially when you factor in Russini's reporting about the Patriots and their interest in A.J. Brown and the story continuing to perpetuate itself. Meanwhile, Howie Roseman has been doing nothing with this. I mean, of course, he's getting phone calls from what has been reported throughout the NFL, but the Patriots are at the top of that list. And look, Russini's not the only one to report on these rumors, but now her integrity and motive behind the reporting is going to be called into question here. And it's not a good look at all in a lot of different ways. But I am glad right now, like, my takeaway from this, glad that Howie Roseman hasn't pulled the trigger on anything based on what this is or what it may not be. We've got a damn good GM in Howie Roseman. Even after all this has come to light, we can all still say that, I think.
I've been wanting to get more Tawdry on this show.
Ooh.
Yeah, like this is the first steamy Tawdry story we've had.
It's very steamy.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw the photos. That doesn't look like two buddies just hanging, having some beers.
Yeah, it doesn't look great. Not a good look.
And your Shams Genie Bus thing, I envision it in my head, and it just looks so weird. I mean, age difference and just the whole thing. Yes, it's very awkward. But yeah, I mean, to say Russini's, journalistic and credibility, integrity is like on the line here.
Yeah,
I'd say it's pretty much shot already, just because based on this and based on some past things that she's done that are very verifiable out on Google. So I'll just speak to like the football side of this. Thank God we do have a great GM, like you said.
Yeah.
That's not going to allow a terrible trade to go through, getting rid of our by far our best wide receiver. So I here's my take. I can't put my finger on it, but I feel like this is really a negative for Mike Vrabel and the Patriots in terms of a deal, and it gives more leverage to Howie in a deal. Like it almost puts a ton of spotlight on the Patriots to do something, because one glaring thing in the Super Bowl was they had no receivers that could get open on top of their offensive line sucking. But like, do you feel the same way, that it actually puts more pressure on the Patriots and kind of gives Howie some leverage?
It absolutely
feels made. Okay.
It's a great word to use for Howie. He's got leverage. I think this gives him more leverage. And I think what it really does is it just calls into question. And look, I hate saying that there's any sort of integrity within the NFL, or quite frankly, any athletic association or league, but it just calls into question the integrity of the Patriots. And I think different executives around the league are going to take a step back and say, who the hell are we dealing with here? Mike Vrabel, yes, as successful of a head coach as he was for the Patriots during his first year coaching the team, and the amazing trajectory that he has put on this team, it's a stain on the team, and it's going to be a stain, I think, on the front office too. Who knows who's going to want to deal with them for the rest of this offseason, with the NFL draft also around the corner. But I think that's a good word that you used, and it really does give Howie some more leverage.
Having said all that, I was just thinking you were talking about this putting a stain on the team.
A brown stain.
A brown. I get it, Jeff.
Yes.
It's a poop joke, fellas. Everybody out there. Yeah. So you said it's a stain. Other teams may not want to deal with this team. You're talking about a team whose owner is potentially on the Epstein list.
Yes.
Got caught in a weird situation in Florida at massage parlors.
Yes.
Do I keep going?
Right.
They have a double murderer at tight end at one point.
Yes.
Tom Brady stuff was great. This is a team that has had some controversy in the past. So
yes,
I don't know if other teams won't want to deal with them. I just think it's kind of embarrassing. The Patriots, even though they made the Super Bowl, I'm sure some of their fans are like, dude, what are you doing? We're riding such a high. This is going to like kind of stain it. I don't know if it's going to be a full brown stain.
Yeah.
But like it's going to kind of stain it.
It's brown.
And like for some goodwill, let's bring in A.J. Brown, who I used to coach with the Titans. That's the pressure I think they'll feel on their end. So
yeah, absolutely. And I think we've got. Let me see here. I think we've got Patriots Nation just. Okay. I don't know why I had to.
Is that just a generic cry from your board? Is that like?
Yes, I just put it in a little while ago.
That almost sounds like when you pretend to cry.
It does. It
does.
When
we hang out. Yeah. Yeah, right there.
Yeah, there it is. It's not me, I swear.
That's why I asked. I'm like, did you record yourself doing the fake cry and sneak it into the show? Like,
I wish it was me. I wish it was. But look, I get back to the story real quick before we go to a quick break and then get into some Flyers and Sixers talk. Gives Howie leverage. The draft is right around the corner too. I think he can potentially get more out of whatever deal is going to be coming, because I do think there's going to be a deal. I have come to that acceptance right now, because I hate it. I hate the fact that A.J. Brown is probably not going to be on this team next year. Yeah. I have loved it. I mean, having that true number one, and yes, I believe Devontae Smith is also a number one type of receiver, but man, I just, it upsets me. It actually upsets me that we would end up losing him for whatever the internal reasons are. I really hate it. So I'm trying to sit with it, you know?
And what's going to suck if it does happen, you know, you're going to get that Marcus Hayes on a Friday, the day after it happens, story of A.J. Brown was an asshole. No one liked him in the locker room. It's I forget what there's a term for it. It's like, why? Oh, you're just telling me now in sports. That happens every time a superstar is traded, and you know it's going to be an ugly one, because no one really knows the true story of how things got turned so sour in the locker room.
Yeah, nobody does.
No,
nobody does. Or those that do, they're just not going to say it because they just don't want the PR flack in the world of Philly sports media. You know, we're probably, and we may know maybe 5-10 years down the road, but not anytime soon.
The whole story is going to be a teammate anonymously says,
"Oh God,"
and then yeah.
I'll tell you the one thing that this Russini and Vrabel situation has given us. It's given us a little reprieve with the Jalen Hurts bullshit that we've been dealing with for the past fucking 3 weeks. Holy shit, you fucking people, shut the hell up about it. The guy's a fucking winner. God, we got a Super Bowl out of this guy, the second one. All he does is win. Shut the fuck up.
I feel like the people who don't do the stats for him in those stories, is their only point is like, he kind of annoys me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like that's the whole story. And it's like,
yes.
So what? He's my quarterback and he has a Super Bowl ring. He's been to 2 in like 6 seasons. Like, just shut up.
And by the way, you know what? If we all have coworkers at times who rub us the wrong way a little bit here and there.
Even friends
work with them. Even friends. Yeah, you got that right. And but at the end of the day, like, the guy seems like he's a decent dude, on the field, off the field. He's a hard worker, comes to his job, works hard. Off the field, he's always doing stuff for kids in the community, underserved individuals, underprivileged individuals. And like, it's like this fucking guy can't get a break. He's had 11 different offensive coordinators during the past 11 years. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing here with him?
And God forbid he probably got a little bit of a big head last year.
Yes.
Super Bowl MVP, got the ring. He's a good dude. He's one of the number 5 paid player in the league. Like, and he needed a coach to reel him in a little bit, and that just didn't happen. And so like, my biggest complaint is like, he's kind of annoying. He does charity or like that kind of thing. Like, what is your complaint, everybody? Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to take a break. When we get back, we're going to get into the Philadelphia Flyers, because I can't believe this team is likely going to be heading to the playoffs. It's unbelievable. Some Sixers talk and Phillies talk. Stick with us. We'll be right back. All right. The Philadelphia Flyers are in a playoff position here at this point. I cannot believe that this team is where they are at. 4 games left in the season as of us recording this. We are recording this Wednesday evening here, April 8th. They have to face the Red Wings, which is going to be Thursday night this week. Then on Saturday, they're going to be taking on the Winnipeg Jets. And then from there, the Hurricanes on Monday. Final game is Tuesday, April 14th, where they play the Canadiens at home. I mean, look, the Hurricanes and the Canadiens, those are going to be 2 pretty tough games, in my opinion. And but this team is in such a good place right now. And I got to say, Dan Vladar, the best goaltending we have seen in, I would say, 10 years or so. I mean, he's 28 years old at this point. Over his last 10 starts, he has gone 7-2-1 with a 1.98 GAA and a 919 save percentage. I cannot believe that this has happened. I cannot believe Danny Briere actually hit on Dan Vladar when we all last year, we all saw the signing, came on our phones, came on our timeline, and we're like, okay, all right, it's going to be him and Sam Emerson going back and forth. And nobody thought that we were going to get the goaltending that we were going to see from Vladar, especially down the stretch here. And he's helped to put this team in such a great position. I can't believe it. And folks, really quick, go back in the podcast feed last week. Kelly Hinkle from BroadStreetHockey.com was on. We had a great discussion about this team, what this potential playoff run may actually mean. It was a great listen. Head back in the podcast feed. But I don't know, buddy, you've gotten into the Flyers this year. What are you thinking right now at this particular point in time?
Well, I mean, I'll say thank goodness it's not still a Vladar Earson team.
Yeah.
That would not have worked out in our favor. I think it was just a few weeks ago, you and Kelly were talking about, should we just tank the rest of the year? Why try and make a push for a better draft pick? It doesn't seem that long ago. I mean, I was going through the YouTube feed. I think it was just 3 weeks ago, maybe.
It was like 2 weeks ago, I think.
Yeah.
I
mean, in that time, the last 20 games are 14-5-1.
Yeah.
You talked about Vladar. The defense is playing really well, but offensively, I'm going through the stats here. Zegers and Tippett each have 15 points in those 20 games.
Yep.
Michkov and Cates 14, Dvorak 13. Michkov isn't scoring goals, but he's got a ton of assists. He
had a couple assists just last night.
Yeah, he looked really good.
Yeah,
and just that injection of like late season playoff push juice coming from Artone and Forrester's return.
Yes.
really helped like energize and amplify the team here down the stretch. I didn't think it was going to happen. It felt like I also kind of follow the Sabres because my daughter goes to Buffalo. I was watching them just cruise up the standings, and the Flyers slowly doing this in a really like January, February cold kind of bitter 2 months up here in the Northeast, a lot of ice and snow, and it was like the Flyers are falling apart. And I was like, oh, this makes sense. This is usually when it happens. It was kind of depressing. And then March hits, and man, like I said, last 20 games, 14-5-1. And I can't wait. I honestly have not watched like hardcore Flyers play out like every second of every game since 2012 when they played the Penguins.
Yeah, but it's
been that huge series. It's been that long.
Uninspiring. and look, they were in the playoffs 5 years ago. I mean, it was kind of just it was uninspiring, and it was during the pandemic too. And you're like, what's going on here? But the fact that Porter Martone, you mentioned Porter Martone, his arrival and the surge that this team has had and the spark that he has given this team. I mean, that's what you want. And yes, like you mentioned, Matvei Michkov, not necessarily scoring goals, but he's giving this team something. And with his assists, he's growing. He's still developing here. I mean, there's a lot of positive energy here heading into this playoff position for this team here. And I just can't believe I'm excited as I am right now. There's a lot to be excited about.
Yeah, and you have to give Briere a lot of credit for at the trade deadline not panicking and going for the tank or going for the playoffs.
Yeah,
he hung in there with his young guys, and it's paying off big time. I mean, if they can somehow finish out 3-1 and what I mean, they'd be like the 6 seed, potentially 5 seed,
possibly 5 or 6
if they closed out like that.
Yeah,
I mean, we didn't do our. Well, I probably wasn't on the Flyers preview show. You would never have had me on.
No.
Before me actually caring.
That was actually Kelly Hinkle.
Yes. Okay. Thanks, Kelly, for covering for me.
Yeah.
But like ceiling basement, we talked about the Sixers. It was all over the place. I'm sure the Flyers was the ceiling 6 seed in the playoffs, or was it even that?
Not even really. It really was like, let's just see how the kids are going to develop.
Yeah.
Like the rebuild is still going on, and then what might happen at the trade deadline. Like even before the season started, it's like, okay, what could they possibly get at the trade deadline? What assets does this team have to continue this rebuild? Because next year is going to be really important. So, and this offseason is going to be important, this 2026 offseason. So it wasn't even like, all right, well, maybe they can sneak in. I mean, there were some people saying they could maybe sneak in if things are falling right for them. But right now, I mean, the team is on fire. And this is what you want in sports, heading into the latter part of the season. And we're not necessarily seeing it with the Sixers. We'll get to them in a bit. But this is what you want. This is the type of energy you want.
It was just a good move that he didn't sell off any of the young guys.
Yeah.
For some veterans to make the push and say it's like a quick temporary satisfaction. Like you do make the playoffs, you make it to the second round and you're out. Now you're out like two young guys that you traded away to get the veteran to make the playoffs you still have the young guys now.
Yeah.
And they're coming together at the same time and gelling, and you actually have a goaltender, which we talked about.
Yeah.
And it's like perfect combination. Staying pat sometimes is boring, and I'm sure Flyers fans out there were like, what the hell are we doing?
Yeah.
But it worked this time. So
exactly. There's some elements of Flyers Nation that definitely talk like that. I'm for sure. Yeah. But dude, let's move over to the 76ers here, because look, the Sixers right now at this particular point in time, as I think, are as healthy as they probably could could probably ask for at this point. Even with Joel Embiid, Paul George, Tyrese Maxey, VJ Edgecombe, all available, man, this is a far from flawless basketball team right now. Even when I don't know, I don't know how to characterize where they are at right now, and I hate to necessarily use the word uninspiring, but it's the first word that just came to my mind as we started with this particular segment. And a few months ago, when Joel Embiid was like on fire, when I was singing a different tune. I remember we had some folks on this podcast who were New York Knicks fans, followers, and doing their podcast saying, you know what, I'm fearing the 76ers. Again, that was a few months ago at this point, but it's some uninspiring basketball right now at this particular point in time.
Yeah, it's a shame that it's not more consistent, because I think it was last 2 Saturdays ago, they had that really great win against the Hornets where everyone was healthy.
Yeah.
And people who don't pay attention to the NBA, like, the Hornets aren't a joke anymore. They're actually pretty damn good.
Yep.
And it was a classic back and forth game, decent defense, more offense. And the Sixers came back and won by 4 points against a team they absolutely had to beat. And I think the best thing with Paul George was killing it. He's been killing it since he got back from suspension. 25 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists a game. And that was a great win. And then they go and lose by like 15 to the Heat. I talked about the Sixers preview where we're like, the ceiling is 4, the play-in is the bot. Like, we weren't sure.
Yeah.
And it feels like they're going to be right in the middle because they are so damn consistent. They play like a 4 seed.
Yeah.
And they also play like the 20th worst team in the league. And they're going to be right in between there, which sucks because that's the plan. They have 3 games left. They got the Rockets down in Houston tomorrow night, and they got 2 teams that are openly tanking, the Wizards and the Bucks. And if they can somehow go 2-1, you're praying to get out of that, praying to get out of the 7 hole and into the 6. You don't have to be in the play-in. Atlanta lost tonight, which is big, but Orlando won. So if they make the play-in, I think they're going to have to play the Hornets again.
Yeah.
In a best of it, which that's not fun. And then if you beat them, guess you're playing the Celtics,
right?
Who have Tatum back and Brown. So
yeah,
I'm hoping they push. I'm hoping they're all healthy and they push hard to win the next 3. And then they're the 6th seed. You don't have to worry about it. They play the Knicks, which is much easier than the Celtics, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm hoping that's what happens, and that's all I got on the Sixers.
Well, I want to get your thoughts really quick on something, because, like, of course, the games that I'm able to watch and see, they just look undisciplined. And what I mean is, look, they're playing the Spurs this week, and they lose the Spurs. The game where they lost to the Pistons as well. Like, they're probably not going to win those games. At the end of the day, they're probably not going to win them. But I wanted to see some sort of inspiring type of basketball from them. And those were 2 games where there was just, things were flat. And I'm like, even if they get into the play-in or even if they were somehow to miraculously get through the first round of the playoffs, the uninspiring nature at which they were playing teams that are just better than them, it kind of stinks. It just stinks as a fan. I just don't want to watch it. You know what I mean? I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
They lose to teams like that because those are awesome defensive teams.
They are. Yeah.
I mean, like Stephen Castle and Dylan Harper shut down Maxey in that Spurs game.
God, Castle is so freaking good. I got in fourth quarter. I was like, God, I fucking hate this guy. I'm like, I fucking hate him.
He is a classic. I hate him. If he was on my team, I'd have his jersey.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That guy knows how to play the game. I'm watching him right now. He's just the fourth. He was the fourth pick in that draft, which it was a weird draft, but what an insane thing happened. But no, they, against really good defensive teams, because they don't play good defense. I think offensively, they get worn down. And then they're even worse defensively down the court because they're getting worn down offensively. Yeah. They're not super tough offensively. They have guys that go to the hole, but it's kind of fall away stuff. Maxey's probably the best at that. VJ's still developing it. But beyond that, you got Embiid and George out at the 3-point line for the most part. So there's no pressure on the defense. Yeah. It makes it easy on them.
Yeah.
And a good coach would kind of, if you're playing a better defensive teams, get some better offensive motion going, different schemes going.
Yeah.
I don't think, no matter what happens in the playoffs, unless they get to the conference finals, which ain't going to happen, Nick Nurse has to be gone.
Yeah.
I think the talent they have, George is back in the way he's playing, to just keep losing to these teams by 15, 20 points.
And again, in an uninspiring way. Correct. You know what I mean? Like, if they lose by 10 points and they're playing their asses off, like, I still want to see that. I still would love to see that, actually. But it's the uninspiring way that it's happening.
I think it's partly like they've shut out Nick Nurse a little bit. I don't think they totally respect him.
Yeah.
I mean, Embiid's at a position where, like, he's respectful of the coaches, but like he doesn't have to be.
Right.
And I think if anything, they're turned on Nurse at all, that'll just go right through the locker room. I just think he's obviously like the turd in the punch bowl of this whole thing, because this team should be playing better against teams like that.
Yeah.
With the talent they have, and they're all healthy right now. Again, to lose by that many points to Detroit, like they lost to Detroit without Cade. And Tobias Harris shoved it up our ass. Like,
yes,
that sucks. And by the way, don't talk shit, Tobias. We remember your playoff performances.
Exactly.
You were awful in huge games, many, many times over.
Scored what, 2-3 points that one game against.
I'll pull the bottom three for you. Somebody put them on Twitter, and I was like, "Oh my god, it was worse than I remember." I think he had 2 points against the Hawks in like 38 minutes.
Yes,
and 4 rebounds. Yeah.
Yep. Look, uninspiring basketball, but we're still going to follow the team, of course. And we're still going to talk about it here at the PST Podcast Show as we are recognizing and commemorating. I don't even know how we're recognizing and commemorating 13 years. We haven't done anything. I don't have anything planned. It's April 17th, by the way. That's the official day, April 17th. So let's move our attention to the Philadelphia Phillies here. I'm just glad baseball is back, and we're only 11 games into this season. The Phillies are just all over the place. They start off the season cold. They get hot in certain areas. And I mean, this is a very, very good baseball team that we are seeing. I mean, certainly right now, the series against San Francisco Giants, not looking good. Not a whole lot of offense going on here. But it's still early in the season. I'm going to talk to our friend of the pod, Ethan Witte from thegoodfight.com, about just the need for people to kind of calm down. Again, only 11 games into this season, and people are already like, oh my gosh, it's the end of the world when they lose one game. So I just love that baseball's back. We get to see this team. There have been some really good things. The bullpen is absolutely crazy, ridiculous, amazing to watch at this point, which is really fun. I'm just glad baseball's here, man. I really am.
I am too. Some things are already glaring a little bit.
Yeah,
it's a long season. It'll change. Yeah. You're right. I think the pitching overall, bullpen starters, phenomenal, for the most part, right?
Yeah.
But the one thing we talked about during the preview show was like Stott and Baum. What are we going to see this year? I picked Baum to break through, and Stott's going to be like a huge breakthrough season. Currently, I have the stats right here. Currently, our 2 through 5 hitters. Okay,
Yes.
Schwarber, Harper, Baum, and Stott. 32 for 165 at the plate. That's a 194 batting average.
Oh my
and
God.
a 639 OPS.
Jeez.
Which is half of our lineups, and they have 6 home runs between them. Schwarber has 3. Everyone else around them is hitting really well. Crawford has been a delight to watch. Is he the most exciting young outfielder they've had? I guess Don Brown was the last one.
I guess, yeah, I think so.
I'm not jinxing him with the Don Brown crap, but
yeah. And it's not like Justin Crawford's defense has been stellar or anything like that, but still, at the plate,
But man, he does that Ichiro bat thing.
Yeah,
if you noticed,
he
rolls it around his head when he gets on base too. It's frightening. The pitchers have to be scared to death.
Yes,
because he is so fast. Trey Turner's having a good year, but again, that 2 through 5 is just a quagmire, and it feels like a slog. And that's what we didn't want to happen,
right?
But obviously, it's so friggin' early. They're 6-6, but they got some big series coming up, and you just want them to maintain. The pitching's really good. You just want to see a little bit of a spark. You saw a spark from Harper in Game 1 against the Giants. But beyond that, man, that's the part of the lineup where we're just okay.
Let's get going. It's let's get going, guys. It's not like they don't want to get going, and it's not like they're bad baseball players. It's not like they're bad hitters. They have a history, and it's not like they're on some ridiculous downslide either. It's just come on, guys, you gotta get going here.
I mean, they spent their money on the pitching, and it shows. You can tell so far early this year. But they didn't put the money in the bats. They brought back Real Muto pretty much, and Schwarber. That was all your money right there offensively. They didn't do much else because they couldn't. But you're hoping Araldis and Real Muto, can just have awesome Aprils while the other 4 kind of get it going. But that's a lot of pressure to put on 2 guys that are a little older, and Real Muto is obviously in the downswing of his career.
Yeah,
but again, that's just the part where. I was working today, so I didn't get to watch the whole game, but I flipped it up and it was 5-0, and I'm like, 0 runs again, guys.
Yeah,
and I look at their stats, the 4 guys I just talked about. I'm like, they sucked again. Just nothing there. It's just a little frustrating because it's year after year at this point for 3 years now.
I think for me, I have really been focusing on Adolis Garcia because when he was initially signed. And of course, there's always question marks when it comes to free agent signings. But I remember there were folks really, really doubting him. And I'm not trying to do a hindsight being 2020 thing. This is one of those situations where it's let's just wait and see what happens. Okay. There's a track record. There's a lot of good. There is some negative. Let's just wait and see what the guy is able to do. And right now it seems like he's getting back to where he was, a couple years ago or a year ago. Last year was a down year for him, of course. And I think it's one of those situations where Phillies Nation and just Philly sports fans in general always go to the negative, dude. And I know they call us Negadelphia for a reason.
Yep.
But I mean, you gotta be patient, especially in a game of baseball, to wait and see if these guys have what they have in them, what we've seen from a positive standpoint, if it's actually going to manifest into something positive. And we're seeing it with Adolis Garcia. I can't wait to keep watching him this year.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, it's not even hindsight. I like that signing immediately. I was like, that guy just seems like the right fit for this team right now. With get Castellanos out, he was just a distraction near the end. The guy was coming off a down year, had 3 previously, was incredible. The 3 previous seasons, it just felt like you reach the end of your time with a team, and it's just it's time for me to move on. Both sides go cool, it felt like I just felt like he was going to have a 30 home run, bat 260 kind of season.
Yeah.
And be lights out defensively compared to Castellanos in right field, which he has been so far. So
yeah.
Again, like this team's been fun to watch. I mean, the Luzardo thing, I'm keeping my eye on it. I mean, I did say after the signing, I'm like, I don't know. Like, is he going to turn into a pumpkin? We'll see. But it's that 2 through 5 in the lineup that it's like, it just kind of sucks to watch.
Yeah.
When they're swinging so mightily and missing so bad, and you're just like, oh, just get base runners, please.
Yes.
Like that's what the good teams do. I watch the Dodgers and they constantly have guys on base, and like that's how you win baseball games.
Yes.
But yeah.
Yes. Well, folks, go ahead.
This West Coast crap, first thing in the season.
I know. I've been falling asleep on my couch. Like last night's game, the first shutout game. I fell asleep in the 9th inning. And I was like, woke up at like 3 a.m. I checked my phone. I'm like, oh, they didn't do anything. I'm like, why did I stay up and watch this?
I know. We talked weeks ago. April, big fan of the show, longtime listener.
April Hershey, yes.
April Hershey. Hey, hope you're doing well. She sent that email asking me, like, how do I stay up and watch these late games for the Flyers games? And I was good, but these Phillies games, I've been flat out 6th inning.
Yeah.
It's 10:30. I'm out. Like, I just pass out.
You're in bed. Yes.
Eyes up. So, but I don't have it. I don't have a secret or trick to it anymore. April.
No.
It's just, I just don't do it. I can't do it.
Exactly. Look, I'm going to be 49 in a couple months. I'm getting tired at night. I'm getting tired, Phillies. Gotta keep me awake. I need a spark.
You don't have a birthday. I'm turning 50.
Oh my gosh.
I turned 50 in August.
Oh,
so maybe it's good they're getting the West Coast games out of the way, because
that is true.
There's no friggin' way I can.
That is true.
50.
I know.
Jeez.
Eric's right, folks. I don't have a birthday. I have no birthday. It's the ongoing joke.
No, you don't. And I don't even appreciate you saying the word. I'm kind of upset with you right now. Yeah.
Well, folks, let us know what you think about this here on YouTube. Leave us a comment below if you're watching on YouTube. We'd love to hear from you. And with that being said, buddy, do you have anything else before we head out of here and before we get to our interview this week?
Nope. Thankfully, the Phillies aren't playing right now. I can just go to bed.
There you go. All right. Well, take care, buddy. And we're going to be back, folks, in just a bit. Got more Phillies talk coming your way. All right, we got to keep talking about this Philadelphia Phillies team, what they've been doing, what we've been seeing early this season. Joining us from thegoodfight.com, been one of my favorite Phillies sites out there for years and years and years. We have got the guy who runs the ship over there and does a fantastic job with he and his colleagues in terms of the content they're putting up, always fun articles to engage with. We've got the one and only Ethan Witte. My friend, how you doing?
Hello, Jeff. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Look, I tried to stay up and watch the Giants game last night. I fell asleep in the 9th inning. I shouldn't have stayed up and watched the whole thing, but no. Here we are today. And look, it is an up and down roller coaster based type of season for the Philadelphia Phillies. And like, to start us off here, Ethan, I think it's important that we need to let folks know within Phillies Nation that baseball is baseball. That may seem very general, very elementary thing to say here. Some teams start off the season a little cold. They need to get warmed up. And overall, I think this Philadelphia Phillies team is a very good baseball team at the end of the day. I don't think the sky is falling by any stretch, as some stated the first few games of the season. Sometimes you need to let things play out. And I don't know. I think this is a very good Phillies team in general. But again, like I said, up and down, roller coaster based first few weeks of the season here. Ethan, give me your overall impressions on how you think the Phillies have handled first few weeks of this Major League Baseball season here.
Pretty much the same as you. It's still early. It's too early to make any kind of definitive statement about anything. You can kind of have ideas. I wrote a thing the other day, there's some things like maybe there's a few clues here and there about some players. But it's just too early. And this is how they always are. Somebody's always hot. Somebody's always cold.
Yep.
And if you take this same 11 game stretch and put it in June, July, it's not even really much of a blip on the radar. but because we have nothing to compare it to for anything, because it's the start of the season, everyone, its sky is falling. And I've mentioned it here and probably somewhere else, that the footballification of baseball sometimes gets us all messed up, where we think one series is the end of the world when you have a lot more baseball to go. It doesn't help that they played kind of flat against bad teams.
Yeah.
But it's April. It's nothing really to worry about for anything. It's not that big of a deal yet.
Right, exactly. Boy, I love the phrase you just used. Did you come up with that, footballification?
I saw it somewhere.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, I saw it somewhere. We talk about it a lot in our own Slack channel. It's just with the Eagles, you've only got 17 games and everyone means so much. With baseball, you just cannot take that approach to baseball, and yet we do. It's just it's hard to not do. I get it, but it's just you can't. It's just not, you can't do it.
Yes, especially it's hard to do, especially in a ridiculous Philly sports market that we have all lived in our lives. And I swear to God, Eric and I were talking about some Eagle stuff earlier on the podcast, and it just never ceases to amaze me where, from a Philadelphia sports media standpoint, things go during off seasons or the knee-jerk reactions. And again, I'm not going to rehash what Eric and I were talking about, but something I thought was really interesting over on The Good Fight. You put up an awesome poll, I thought, for readers about which things are, quote, real this early in the Philly season. Some of those things, that you asked your readers about, what do you think are, quote, real? Adolis Garcia's offense, Alec Boehm's lack of power, Brandon Marsh's hot start, Jesus Luzardo's swing and miss rate, and then you had a quote other as another option for folks to determine. Can you let us in on what fans might be thinking at this point? I don't know if you've released the polls yet, the poll at this point. And also, like, what are you thinking in terms of, what are we seeing that's real with this team so far?
Well, that's one of those things where I can't see the results until the very end.
Okay.
I have an idea based off of the kind of Negadelphian take we've seen so far with everyone, that it's going to be the Alec Boehm choice.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. It wouldn't surprise me if that's what it is, mostly because it's kind of true. He's not a power hitter. He's a double. He's not an over the fence power hitter, I should say. He's not. And he gets plenty of doubles, things like that, which is great. But he's not put into the position to when he's the fourth hitter, you expect more. Yeah. You expect more over the fence power. And he's the fourth hitter to me by default, because they didn't really know what Garcia has. But I think we're at that point now where if Garcia is hitting as well as he has been, then ride the wave. Put him forth, put him behind Harper for as long as he's got it, until, you need to make another change, in which case maybe that goes back to Boehm. Maybe it's somebody else. But, for me personally, I think the real is Garcia bouncing back a little bit. I don't think he's as bad as he was last year.
That's what I picked, by the way. When I did the poll,
I'm not sure. I'm not sure he's as good as he is now, for lack of a better term saying that. I think he leans more that way than he was last year with Texas. Texas last year was just a mess, where they brought in all these kinds of hitting coaches. I mean, they had Brett Boone come off a podcast and be the hitting coach last year.
Right.
Shows you what they were kind of dealing with. Now that he's got a real hitting coach in Kevin Long, for as people, as much as people don't like him, if the team were to get rid of him, he would have a job almost instantly. He's one of the better hitting coaches in the game. And now that Garcia actually has somebody who can show him approach, show him something a little bit different, now you're seeing what he can do offensively. And I think it's real-ish with him. I think everything else, Luzardo showed the strikeout rate last year. Marsh was actually a really good hitter from May on, after he got through his terrible start this season. He's a good hitter. Maybe he's a little miscast as facing lefties, but he's a good player. I think the most real thing, to me, is Garcia.
Absolutely. I think the majority of common sense thinking Phillies fans would actually say that. But like you said, Negadelphia, we know that some folks are going to say Alec Boehm's lack of power.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but as we're moving along here, Ethan, I want to get into some pitchers here too. And, there is that theme. A lot of folks are talking about it. Some folks are writing about it as well. Taijuan Walker, and man, it's been rough for him right out of the gate. Even though he actually did bring down his ERA after the last start, and that's not saying too much.
Mm-hmm.
It was not a great outing, of course, at all. But I'm just wondering, like, what do you think is actually going to happen with Taijuan Walker when Zach Wheeler returns, and what his role might be on this team moving forward? It's definitely a storyline that's going to continue to persist.
I think you're going to see the same thing that happened last year. Your 5 best pitchers go in the rotation, and you can probably say he's not one of the 5 best pitchers.
Yeah.
In the past, they didn't really have anything behind him, so he was one of their only options they had. And to be honest, when they signed him, he's kind of done the job that they asked of him, which was to, provide innings, give them 5 innings an outing, probably keep 4 runs or less and let the bullpen take over. Has he not done that in his career? I'm not a big Taijuan Walker hater. I'm just kind of a meh, he's there type of guy. He's kind of done his job, even if he's a little overpaid to do it.
Yeah.
But if Zach Wheeler comes back and you're honest about putting in your 5 best starters, if he's not it, then he needs to go to the bullpen. And I think last year he showed his willingness to do that, which was huge for the team. He ended up kind of coming back and going back and forth in his role and gave them some decent starts midseason. I think you might see the same thing. Do they maybe push pause a little bit on Painter, go to a 6-man rotation at some point, something like that? I wouldn't say, you don't want to use the word valuable around Taijuan Walker, but he is still somebody, that they can use in a certain role, and he'll do the role well. He'll be the swing man if they need him, give him if they need a longer outing. If Andrew Painter struggles and after 2-3 innings, you bring in Walker to piggyback him. And that's, while that may not show up in a box score, so to say, it's valuable for the team in that they're saving innings for the bullpen.
Yeah.
They're saving innings on Painter. It's just, I think he's a decent player to have on the team, and he seems like a good teammate overall.
He does.
He's always on the top step for everybody. I was at Painter's debut, and Painter was there on the top step for the entire outing. That's something valuable to have, even if you don't see it on a Baseball Reference or Fangraphs.
Yeah.
It's something that every team needs, and I think he does his job well. Now, when his contract is up, thanks for the job. Good luck finding another team. We'll see in the future. But yeah, I think when it's time, he goes to the bullpen. I don't think that's really much of a question.
All right. Very good. Again, folks, we're talking to Ethan Witte from thegoodfight.com. Buddy, let everybody know where they can follow you out there on the interwebs if they want to connect with you.
I'm on the Twitter or whatever you call it now. I'm on the Blue Sky. I don't even know what those handles are called. I've kind of tried to take a social media break-ish just because of all the negativity. It's just, after a while, it's just like, okay, and enough is enough. I think I'm just going to go. I'll chime in every now and then, but sometimes it's too much.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree with you. If it wasn't for this podcast, honestly, if it wasn't for my job, I would definitely be off it. One of my co-hosts is off social media. I'm so jealous. Jealous of the guy. Oh my gosh. But anyway, again, folks, Ethan Witte over at thegoodfight.com. Check out everything they're doing at thegoodfight.com. Always really great content. And we're going to take a break. When we get back, we've got more Phillies talk coming your way. All right, we are back with our good buddy Ethan Witte from thegoodfight.com. And as we're ending this podcast show here, a few more topics, Ethan, and we got to talk about the positive when it comes to this Phillies bullpen, because they have been pretty phenomenal and just red hot this season. My God, I just love watching them after Monday night's game against the Giants, where the bullpen was unstoppable. At that point, Phillies relievers over 16 innings had given up 0 runs and just 4 hits, no runs given up early at all in the road trip. So consistency is going to be so key for this bullpen throughout the season. Just want to get your thoughts on whether or not you think that this bullpen can or cannot keep this consistency going here. What are you thinking?
I was on the train early that their bullpen is now the strength of the team.
Yeah.
With the rotation, you kind of the unknown with Wheeler. Can Luzardo do it again? Is Nola going to come back? There were a lot of questions with them, but it seemed like with signing Brad Keller, which I don't know if anybody saw coming,
Right.
when they put Keller, now you have a full season of Duran. Alvarado is going to come back with theoretically something to prove off of his suspension. Now all these guys are kind of in a role, a defined role. Duran's the closer. Keller's eighth inning. Alvarado's seventh or eighth inning. These guys are in a role where they can thrive in that role, something that Thompson's not really done much of in his career. But now that they're in a spot, they've also got a ton of guys who can throw the ball past hitters, which they haven't had much of. But now, Duran gets strikeouts, Keller gets strikeouts, Alvarado gets strikeouts, Kirkering gets strikeouts when he's fully back in the mix.
Yeah.
They haven't had that much. They've had to rely on a lot of contact. Everybody's kind of in a better spot that's more suited to their skill set. I'm a big fan of the Jonathan Bolin move. I liked Matt Strom, and he was good for the team, but he didn't have the strikeout stuff that they looked like they were kind of going for. So maybe they sold a little high on him. I'm not sure, where his value lied. But with Bolin, now you have 3-4 pitchers that can get a strikeout if needed. And that's something that's going to be huge for them later on into hopefully October as they get to it. Because as we saw in October when the relievers, and I hate to pick on the guy, but when the relievers gave up contact and the pitchers were forced to make a play, things happen that you don't want to see happen.
Yeah.
So it's nice that they kind of identified a need that they had, addressed it, and now the bullpen it looks like a top 5 unit in the entire game.
Yeah, it absolutely does. I mean, even top 3 perhaps at this point. Like I said, just absolutely red hot. But I just the one thing that I don't want to say it bothered me, but maybe during the off season, I would just get a little tired of hearing is the quote, they're running it back again. And I get where that narrative came from, but in reality, I believe 25% of this team is basically new in some way, shape, or form. And we all couldn't wait to see what Justin Crawford was going to provide this team, Andrew Painter as well, and just how the shakeup in the outfield was going to manifest itself too. I think so far we've gotten some surprises from this Phillies team. And there are positives, of course, that we're seeing, again, even living in Negadelphia. Adolis Garcia, we talked about earlier, along with Justin Crawford, just a couple players who've really surprised us fans to start this season off. Which players offensively for you, Ethan, whether it's or even whether it's pitching, which players have surprised you the most so far this season and why?
Number one, I think it's Crawford, to put it for lack of a better way, getting away with what he's getting away with. The way his swings are not the prettiest of things, but he's producing. How long he's going to produce remains to be seen once they start to catch up on him. Yep. I think you're going to start to see with him a lot more velocity in the zone until he can show that he can beat them and not hit the ball on the ground.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasant surprise. He's done nothing but produce. I mean, I know a lot of the prospect people say, it's not, his game's not going to translate to the majors. And it's still, again, it's 11 games into the season. It may not translate, but so far it has. And he's the 9-hole hitter. His defense has been but offensively, he's hitting the ball. He's finding holes. He's doing what it needs to be. If we're talking about other surprises offensively, Garcia, he's hitting the ball hard, which he got a little unlucky first few games. He's getting a little luckier now, but I always kind of liked the signing of him because I just thought he had just a really bad year last year, and it's kind of they're getting him as a buy low thing that maybe this time it'll work out, unlike Max Kepler who didn't work out. I think you're seeing more of what he's capable of. I'm on the pitching side, surprises. Nothing really, nothing yet. I think you're getting even year Aaron Nola, which means he's going to be pretty good.
Yes.
I'm kind of looking forward to when Wheeler returns. I think that's that's their X factor this year. If he returns even in a slightly diminished place, he's still a top 10 pitcher in the game.
Yeah.
Now you have Wheeler, Sanchez, who Sanchez is top 3, and Luzardo, you can argue, is top 15, top 20. How many teams would kill to have 3 of those pitchers outside of the Dodgers, who probably do? But other than that, you have 3 guys who every night are going to give you 6 innings and give you a reasonably good chance to win the game.
Yeah.
I just, nothing in the pitching has really surprised me so far. It's kind of all what I thought would happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, the 2 guys offensively, Garcia and Crawford, I'll be interested to see what they look like in, June and July.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, I don't want to keep you longer than you need to be here. So to close us out, last topic I wanted to ask you about, Ethan, was, and again, I know it's kind of general, and again, only 11 games into this 2026 season. I'm wondering which player at this point is your, quote, needs to rebound guy on the team and why?
Bryce Harper.
Okay.
He needs to be, the whole elite, not elite stuff was just nonsense this offseason.
Exactly.
It was just nonsense. I mean, it was blown up way out of proportion that really just didn't need to get to. That being said, he needs to be good. He needs to be really good. You don't want to use the word elite because it's stupid, but he just needs to be really good. And if he is, I just don't think that many teams are going to be able to keep up with him. I mean, I know everything matters in October. I get it.
Yeah.
But in order for it to matter in October, you need to get to October. And if Harper's, quote, rebounding from last year, having a better year than he did, this is going to be they're already a really good team. But now you put them up against the Dodgers. They're the gold standard. The Dodgers are the gold standard. It doesn't matter really anyone else. You have to beat the Dodgers. Everything goes through LA. If you have a really good Harper having the season that he's fully capable of having, they can go toe-to-toe with the Dodgers, as we saw in the NLDS. I thought, a few breaks here, a few breaks there, and they win that series. If you can get those breaks this year, as baseball, it's always good. That's how it's always going to be. Are the breaks going to fall your way? That's a team that can win a World Series, and it's going to have to start with Harper. I don't think Schwarber's going to hit 50 whatever home runs this year. It's the power production is going to have to come from Harper.
All right, very good. Again, folks, thegoodfight.com, Ethan Witte. Head on over to goodfight.com, thegoodfight.com. It's such a great site, and I loved having you on, buddy. Really, always a great time, always a great conversation. Come back and join us down the road. I'd love to have you back on.
Anytime, and everyone visit The Good Fight a few times a day. That would be very helpful.